All right. Hey, everybody, welcome. Sometimes, even if you've been walking a long time with the Lord, oh, bless it. Um, Sometimes when you've been walking even a long time with the Lord, uh, you have to take a stock of where your faith is and how we relate to our faith, how we um, uh, have to do our faith. Do we do our faith? Do we walk out our faith? Is there a requirement for us to do faith? Not just believe, but is there this requirement for us to do faith? That there's action involved in it. Is faith in itself enough? Is just faith, just being faithful? Is that enough? Yeshua give us two commands, right? He give us the two greatest commands, and the one is to love Jehovah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and the other is to love your neighbor as yourself, which we know that these are a summation of the Ten Commandments, and actually Torah in itself. That all the things in Torah allow you. They're either one dealing with how you deal with God and the holy, and how you deal with man and the common. These are the two things that really define our faith. Now, in Scripture, especially in the New Testament, we have a tendency to go to the four Gospels, right? You have Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Those four Gospels are the ones that everything hangs off of, right? But in the succession from Yeshua was James, and James is by scholars is believed to be his brother, and he was called James the Just, and so he wrote the book of James. And so in this he addresses about our faith, where how we should do faith actually is what it's talking about. And so I'm going to start out with reading James, and this is the CJB version. It says, "What good is it, my brothers, if someone claims to have faith but has no actions to prove it? Is such faith able to save him? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food, and someone says to him, 'Shalom, keep warm and eat hearty,' without giving him what he needs. What good does this do? Thus, faith by itself, unaccompanied by actions, is dead. But someone will say that if you have faith and I have actions, show me this faith of yours without the actions, and I will show you my faith by my actions. You believe that Jehovah is one. Good for you. The demons believe it too, and though the thought of it makes them shudder in fear. But foolish fellow, you want to show that such faith apart from actions is barren? Wasn't Abraham Avinu declared righteous because of the actions that he offered up his son Yitzhak on the altar? You see, his faith worked with his actions. By the actions, the faith was made complete. And the passage of the Tanakh was fulfilled, saying, Abraham had faith in Yehovah, and it was credited to his account as righteousness. He was even called Yehovah's friend. You see, a person is declared righteous because of the actions and not because of faith alone. Likewise, was Rechab, the prostitute, also declared righteous because of the actions when she welcomed the messengers and sent them out by another route. Indeed, just as a body without spirit is dead, so too is faith without actions. So James is addressing this specific issue. Are we to work out our faith? Are we to do our faith? Or are we just to have faith? And it's a double, it works hand in hand. It's like a cloth that's woven together. Our faith in Yehovah is important, but it's not the only thing. It's important to do works and do things, good things. There are lots of things that we can't do in Torah that we're not supposed to do, but there is no rule or command against doing good, right? So doing good and being just with other people is really what we're called to do. But James is addressing this session, or this our outward expression of our faith. In some denominations, it's speaking in tongues, right? Some church denominations, that's the outward expression. But is not kindness, is not gentleness, is not taking care of another one's needs or giving, being generous, is that not part of being faithful? Because everything we have comes from Yehovah to begin with. It's not like he doesn't provide, but sometimes people fall on hard times, and that's just part of it. The one part of this says that if you believe that Yehovah is one, he says basically saying, good, the devils believe it too, and they're fearful of that, right? So believing in God and having faith is important. Yuri, one of Steve's friends and my friend by association, I was talking to him one day in his shop. He sells the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and all of that. And I was talking to him, and he says, we're all believers. He said, we all believe in God, right? But it's the differences in how we do it. That's the difference. But everybody that is a person of faith believes in God. Now, the other part is, do they believe what God says? That's a whole another issue. But James is exhorting us to action, to take action. It's kind of something that in Torah that's written. It says, and this is Leviticus 25, 35 through 37. It says, if your brother becomes poor and cannot maintain himself with you, you shall support him. You shall not lend him your money at interest, nor give him food for profit. So basically it's saying to have an open hand, to give openly. Now, there are those that sometimes they give and they want to get their credit for it, and there's a scripture that says, don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. So kind of, don't take the credit, just do it. And that's completely understandable from the point of, one of the things that you don't want, if a brother's on hard times, we all have a little pride, and it's hard for people to take blessings. It's never easy for a person that's on hard times to take and take a gift. I can remember one time, and after my parents got divorced, we were driving home and on the school bus, and my bus driver gave me a box of food. Well, there were still other students on the bus, and boy, I was just embarrassed about that, being a young teenager, but the truth is we ended up using that food. My dad was working. We weren't really destitute or anything like that. It was just that people perceived that. So, but that was one of the things I do remember. James talks about, not James. In Deuteronomy, it talks about having a hardened heart or a closed heart. No, now in the Hebrew, there's the letter kaf, which that represents, it's kind of like an open hand. It looks like that, and that's called the open hand of blessing. So we have an open hand of blessing, but we don't want to have our hearts closed off in the wrong spot, in the wrong place, the wrong thoughts of where it just doesn't, it just doesn't. We don't want to give. Now, here's the issue with this uh, Leviticus scripture. It says, if your brother, okay, well, who's your, when you're in a fellowship, your brother is the one that's with you. You're the one that's in the fellowship with you. Does this mean that you're to give to everybody that you see, or everybody that, typically the Jewish tradition is that if somebody asks you, you have an open hand, and you give if you can. This last trip in Israel, when I was there in May of last year, the one thing that I did notice is that daily where I was at, I started seeing the same people asking, and they would come through and they would ask, they would go around to, and so they would approach you several times, for alms. Now some some are worse shaped than others over there, so it's but you try to be liberal with what the Lord's given you. Deuteronomy, it says, lending to the poor, not hardening your heart or shutting your hand to a poor brother. It also talks about in Deuteronomy 24 about receiving collateral. So it's okay to loan a poor person money, right? But there's some stipulations on it, and I thought this was quite interesting. It says receiving collateral. So 24:10 through 13, is where this is taken out of. When you take any kind of loan to your neighbor, you are not to enter his house to take collateral. You must wait outside, and the borrower will bring the collateral out to you. Okay. So the next stipulation is if the poor person gives you his garment, if he gives you his cloak for collateral. Okay. It says Deuteronomy. It says in 12 verse 12 it says, if you receive a garment, this is how if he is poor, and you are not to go to bed with what he gave as collateral in your possession. Rather, you must restore the pledged item at sunset. Then he will go to sleep wearing the garment and bless you. So what it's saying is that there's this, doing what's right. Taking somebody's garment isn't bad, but giving it back to them so that they're warm. So that's having a soft heart. That's having a heart for the person, right? And understanding that their situation. It's something that and bless you. And this will be an upright deed of yours before Yahovah, your Elohim. So by doing this is an upright. So he doesn't make laws against doing good, but he's also guiding you to help you to do the right thing in this situation. Now, one business that I always said I would never have anything to do with, this particular business, is a pawn shop. And the reason being is my daughter's first husband, his family owned pawn shops. And he came one time, we were riding along in the car, and he started telling me about how he loaned money on this guy's glass eye. And I was just like, you loan money on a guy's glass eye? He was like, yeah. He says, well, I knew he was going to come back for it. It only fit him, right? But it's like, don't, but that's what a pawn shop does, is they do usury, right? So they charge an excessive rate of interest in that. And if you notice, I mean, here in Charlotte, in the Charlotte area, it has gotten to be chock-a-block with buy here, pay here car places, right? So they'll sell you a $300 car for $3,000. And then if you miss a payment, they come and get it and they sell it to somebody else a week later, right? Or there's title loan places, cash advance places. It's all these things that work against the poor people, because that's the people that need it, right? But it's all, they're working against that system. So those are a few of the things that just are not correct. Now, one of the things that you have to be careful in is, this is Deuteronomy 24. And it says, you are not to deprive the foreign or the orphan of justice. So the foreigner who lives amongst you, the individual that is come alongside you, you're not to deprive them justice, which is due to him. You are not to take a widow's clothing as collateral for a loan, but rather remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and Jehovah, your Elohim, redeemed you from there. And that is why I'm ordering you to do this. So he's ordering them to have a not hard heart, right? There's a scripture that says true religion is taking care of widows and orphans, right? And so that's something that is near to God's heart. And we have to, this is one of our parts of our faith that we work out. When we can give, we give. When we can bless, we bless. We're not to, if we loan something to somebody, we're not to charge them usury on it, or interest is what it's talking about. And our society is full of it. I think President Trump back a few weeks ago was talking about the credit card interest. Some credit cards are 30% interest. Now that's a bit exorbitant, but that's the way that they make their money. But we're not to withhold justice. We're not to withhold blessings from those when we can help. I've been over the years, I kind of shy away from the cardboard sign crowd. Out of all of the ones I've ever seen, I saw a guy out in Gastonia one time that was really honest with his sign, and it said, "Thinking of a cheeseburger." So, so you can go get him a cheeseburger. At least he'd be happy. He's honest about it, right? And there was a guy one time, I think down at Myrtle Beach, and the sign said, "I'll be honest, I need a beer." And so there are people that kind of will be honest in it, but it's a hard part when you see somebody that's an alcoholic and they're on hard times, and and then somebody buys them alcohol. You can see that's a hard thing. But we are supposed to have a heart towards people that are poor and are on hard times. And it's a hard time right now for everybody, I think, because we're in a time where your money goes less farther and less farther every time you turn around. So it's a bit of an issue. But if we keep our hearts open and we depend on the Lord, but we walk out our faith. We have to walk out our faith, and we have to walk it out with action. And action is sometimes the hardest part of doing things. Trying to find ways to help in being wise about it is not an easy thing. And I know just through some of our dealings we've had to do, it's a little hard. So, but that is all I have for today. And sure.
Action and works is not the same thing, is it?
It's taking action on something. If somebody asks you, but it's works. This is how I explain works, and this is how from the Judaism kind of works this way, is that if you do a work, then the work that you do is you're keeping a mitzvot, so you get like credits for that, right?
What work do you mean?
So
your occupation?
No, not your occupation, but like if you do a mitzvot, right? Okay, so a mitzvot for them, they kind of store up they kind of feel that their mitzvot stores up, where that's not really the way I read it in James here. James is just making sure that we do something to help those who are less fortunate, and so, but the works, the works is used as action, and works they're kind of used synonymously, but the works can be even taken farther to that extreme of where we're doing it to get brownie points, get credit, and so we're not that's not the way to function it. You want to it's a condition of the heart, right? If your heart's hard, then you're not going to be giving, right? If your heart is soft and pliable, then you find, and there are some people that are very, very they just give and give and give, and they expect nothing in return. Then there are other people that sometimes when they give, they expect things in return, and so you run into both types of people. Does that answer your question? Okay, good.
And I think you hit it out when you said, what we have is a gift from Him.
Right,
Everything
right.
we have belongs to Him.
Yep. Well, the next breath. Yeah, our next breath. You don't know. You're not guaranteed your next breath. And one of the things that happened to me early in my younger life was I went across the street to get my kids a pizza one time, and then I was coming back to the house from the pizza store because it was like right across the street from my house, and a car come around the corner and hit me, right, and it broke my ribs and kind of messed me up a little bit. But you never know when your next breath is going to be it, and so we walk out our faith, we walk out and we do our actions that we can do to be a blessing. One of the things that I've loved to do is grow something in the garden and give it away to people. That just makes my day. When I got something that I can give, that's a blessing to me. But it blesses me as much as it does the person that receives it. Unless it's zucchini season in Michigan, and then everybody locks their car doors, right? So, love everyone.
I think another important thing, though, is not in all instances, but in some, be led by the Holy Spirit.
Exactly. You should know when you are,
Either you're going to seek Him about it, or He's going to let you know
Yep.
that you weren't expecting.
Yep.
And I think that's so cool.
Yes, it is very important.